Her ancestors were known in their village as practitioners of Kala Jadoo or black magic, a label that carried both fear and respect. This legacy traced back several generations, rooted in a time when such practices were more openly acknowledged and intertwined with the daily lives of the people. Growing up, Neha was surrounded by whispered tales of her great-grandfather, a figure both revered and feared for his supposed mystical powers. He was a man who, according to family lore, could commune with spirits, cast spells, and was often sought after by those in need of supernatural assistance. While some in the village considered him a sage, others whispered of darker deeds, attributing misfortunes and unexplained events to his esoteric practices. A family's legacy. For Neha, these stories were a curious blend of intrigue and apprehension. As a child, she viewed them with a sense of wonder, but as she grew older and pursued a career in technology, her belief in such tales waned. She saw herself as a rational individual, far removed from the mystical world of her ancestors. To her, the tales of black magic were remnants of a superstitious past, interesting but irrelevant to her modern life. However, Neha's perception of her family's legacy and her own disconnection from it was challenged by a series of events that shook the very foundation of her understanding. These events forced her to confront the legacy she had long dismissed, leading her on a journey through her family's hidden past and into the depths of her own identity. Her story is a fascinating exploration of the intersection between ancient beliefs and modern skepticism, a journey that blurs the lines between folklore and personal experience. Neha's connection to her family's history with black magic became more than just a series of old tales during a visit to her ancestral home. The sprawling, Old Havely, with its faded frescoes and whispering corridors, had always fascinated and unnerved her. It was here that she stumbled upon a hidden trove of her great-grandfather's belongings, ancient scrolls, peculiar amulets, and diaries filled with cryptic writings. Leafing through these diaries, Neha was drawn into the world her great-grandfather inhabited, a world where the lines between the natural and the supernatural were constantly blurred. She learned that her great-grandfather's journey into black magic began as a quest for knowledge, a desire to explore the mysteries of the universe. He delved into ancient texts, learned from wandering mystics, and gradually became a master of esoteric practices. In the diary, there were accounts of specific incidents that cemented her great-grandfather's reputation. One such incident involved a local landlord who sought his help to save his dying son. Through rituals that spanned several nights, her great-grandfather reportedly managed to pull back the boy from the brink, earning both gratitude and awe. But with such acts also came fear and suspicion. Tales of his powers spread, and soon, he was both sought after and shunned, a paradoxical figure of reverence and fear. As Neha delved deeper, she uncovered stories that were darker and more complex. There were hints of rivalries with other practitioners, of spells cast for protection, and of the heavy toll these practices took on her great-grandfather's personal life. His wife, Neha's great-grandmother, was said to have suffered greatly, often falling ill with ailments no doctor could diagnose, which many attributed to the supernatural backlash of her husband's practices. What struck Neha most was the diary's references to a burden, a legacy that her great-grandfather feared would pass down the generations. It spoke of a binding, an unseen tether that linked the family to the spirit world in ways that were both a gift and a curse. Neha's skepticism was challenged when strange occurrences began to manifest around her. Initially dismissible as coincidences, these incidents grew in intensity and frequency. She would wake up to the scent of incense that no one had lit, hear whispers in empty rooms, and sometimes feel an inexplicable chill even on the hottest days. Objects in the house moved without explanation, and her dreams were filled with visions of her ancestors and cryptic symbols from the diary. One particular incident shook her to the core. During a family gathering, a distant relative, unaware of Neha's recent explorations, recounted a dream that perfectly mirrored one of Neha's own, a dream of a shadowy figure warning of an unfulfilled duty, a legacy unacknowledged. This shared experience, impossible to dismiss as mere coincidence, forced Neha to reconsider her stance on the supernatural. Seeking answers, Neha reached out to elders in the village, some of whom had first-hand experiences with her great-grandfather. Their stories added layers to the diary's accounts, tales of healing and harm, of blessings and curses. They spoke of a balance that her great-grandfather maintained, a constant negotiation with forces that were beyond ordinary understanding. Neha's rational mind battled with these revelations. As a software engineer, her world was defined by logic and code, yet here she was, confronted with experiences that defied rational explanation. This conflict led her on a deeper quest, not just for answers about her great-grandfather's practices, but for a reconciliation of her own identity, one split between the modern world and a legacy steeped in the mystical. As she grappled with this duality, Neha began to experience a subtle shift in her perception. The world seemed richer, more layered. She started to view her great-grandfather's legacy not just as a relic of the past, but as a living, breathing part of her heritage, one that demanded acknowledgement and understanding. Fourth story, The Healer's Tale. Nestled in the lush greenery of the Amazon rainforest, we meet our fourth storyteller, Eduardo, a 50-year-old shaman and healer in his indigenous community in Brazil. In a world where the boundaries between the physical and spiritual realms are intricately woven, Eduardo stands as a guardian and mediator of these forces. His tale is not just a personal narrative but a reflection of a deep, ancestral connection to the earth and the unseen world. Eduardo's lineage is steeped in the traditions of shamanism, passed down through generations. From a young age, he was immersed in the teachings and practices of his elders, learning the intricate rituals, the medicinal properties of plants, and the ancient chants that formed the backbone of his community's spiritual and healing practices. He was taught to listen to the whispers of the forest, to understand the language of the spirits that inhabit it, and to respect the delicate balance between humans and the natural world. In his community, Eduardo is revered not just as a healer but as a spiritual guide and protector. His role extends beyond treating physical ailments. He is a custodian of his people's cultural heritage, a bridge between the past and the present, and a guide for the community's spiritual well-being. His knowledge and skills are a blend of practical herbalism and deeper, more mystical practices that connect with the spiritual energies of the rainforest. Eduardo's life is deeply intertwined with the rhythms of nature, following a path that has been tread by shamans for centuries. He sees himself as part of a larger whole, a link in the chain that connects the human world with the greater forces of life and spirit. His story is a testament to the enduring wisdom of indigenous cultures and their deep connection to the earth and its hidden forces. In The Healer's Tale, we delve into Eduardo's world, a world where the healing of the body is inseparable from the healing of the soul, and where each ritual and remedy is steeped in a rich tradition that spans generations. His experiences offer a unique perspective on the power of ancient practices in a modern world, and the role of a shaman in navigating the intricate web of life, spirit, and community. Eduardo's experience as a shaman and healer in the Amazon is a compelling tapestry of the seen and unseen, a daily navigation through the realms of light and shadow. His unique perspective on black magic, or magia negra as he calls it, is deeply rooted in the traditions and spiritual beliefs of his community. In Eduardo's worldview, black magic is not inherently evil but rather a manifestation of imbalanced energies. He perceives it as a misuse of the spiritual power that flows through all living things. According to him, every element in nature has a spirit, and tapping into these spirits should be done with respect and for the greater good. When these energies are manipulated for selfish or harmful purposes, it disrupts the natural balance, leading to what is commonly termed as black magic. Throughout his life, Eduardo has had numerous encounters with what could be described as dark forces. These encounters often occur when he is called upon to heal someone who has been afflicted by a curse or a hex. He describes these experiences as battles, not with an external entity, but with the negative energies that cling to a person's spirit. One particularly striking incident involved a young man from his community who fell inexplicably ill. The doctors couldn't diagnose his ailment, and his health was rapidly deteriorating. Eduardo was consulted, and upon seeing the young man, he immediately sensed a heavy, dark presence around him. Through a ritual that involved sacred chants, offerings, and the use of medicinal herbs, Eduardo engaged in a spiritual confrontation with this dark presence. The ritual lasted for hours, and by the end of it, the young man's condition began to improve. Eduardo explained that he had to coax the dark spirit away, offering it a path back to the natural balance. Eduardo's healing practices are a blend of physical and spiritual techniques. He uses a variety of medicinal plants, which he gathers from the rainforest, each selected for its specific healing properties. These plants are used in concoctions, poultices, or burned as incense. However, the physical aspect is just one part of the healing process. The more critical part, according to Eduardo, is restoring spiritual balance. He performs rituals that are designed to cleanse the aura, to realign the spirit with the natural world. These rituals often involve the entire community and can last for days. They are a mix of dancing, singing, and the consumption of sacred brews that are believed to open up channels of communication with the spirit world. Eduardo's role as a shaman goes beyond just healing the sick. He is a guardian of his community's spiritual health. He conducts ceremonies that mark important life events, provides counsel on matters both mundane and mystical, and acts as a mediator between the human and spirit worlds. His approach to dealing with black magic is preventive as much as it is curative. He teaches the community about living in harmony with nature, respecting the spirits, and the importance of positive intentions. He believes that a community that is spiritually aligned is less susceptible to the negative impacts of black magic. Final story, Escape from Darkness. Our final narrative brings us into the life of Amir, a 38-year-old man from Cairo, Egypt, whose journey into and out of the world of black magic serves as a stark reminder of the delicate balance between power and morality. Amir's story is one of ambition, downfall, and redemption, set against the backdrop of a city where ancient mysticism and modern life intertwine in complex patterns. Amir, an ambitious young man with a keen interest in the occult, was always drawn to the enigmatic allure of the unseen. His fascination began with innocent curiosity, delving into historical texts about ancient Egyptian rituals and the esoteric arts. However, as he delved deeper, his interest turned into an obsession. He was particularly captivated by the idea of harnessing supernatural forces to gain personal power and influence. His pursuit led him to explore the darker aspects of mysticism, venturing into practices that many would consider black magic. Amir started experimenting with rituals and spells, initially for minor gains, to influence decisions, sway opinions in his favor, or gain financial advantage. However, as he grew more proficient, his ambitions swelled, and so did the stakes of his endeavors. Amir's journey into the world of black magic brought him temporary success. He amassed wealth, gained influence, and seemed to be living a life many would envy. But this success came at a cost. He found himself entangled in a web of deceit and manipulation, losing touch with his moral compass and the relationships that once meant the most to him. Eventually, the very forces Amir sought to control began to manifest in ways he hadn't anticipated, leading to a series of events that shook the foundation of his life. This marked the beginning of his realization of the dark path he had tread and his subsequent effort to break free from the shackles of the forces he had once eagerly embraced. Amir's tale is a profound exploration of the human psyche, the allure of power, and the search for redemption after losing oneself in the shadows. Amir's journey into the world of black magic began as a path paved with curiosity and a thirst for knowledge, but it gradually morphed into a descent into a world he couldn't control. His story is one of ambition, moral conflict, and eventual redemption, set against the backdrop of Cairo's blend of ancient traditions and modern complexities. Amir's initial foray into the occult began innocently, with an interest in ancient Egyptian mysticism and rituals. However, his fascination soon turned into an obsession. He began exploring the darker side of these practices, initially drawn by the promise of power and control. Through meticulous study and experimentation, Amir learned to cast spells and perform rituals that, to his astonishment, appeared to work. As he dabbled in these practices, Amir started experiencing success in his personal and professional life. His career took a sharp upward turn, and he accumulated wealth and influence rapidly. These early successes reinforced his belief in the power of black magic, leading him deeper into its embrace. However, as Amir's practices grew more potent, so did their consequences. The first signs of trouble came subtly: strange occurrences, inexplicable bad luck befalling those he had used his spells against, and a growing sense of unease. His relationships began to deteriorate. Friends and family felt alienated, sensing a change in him they couldn't quite understand. Amir's turning point came when a spell intended to harm a business rival resulted in a tragic accident. The guilt and shock of this incident caused a profound crisis in Amir. He was forced to confront the reality of the forces he had been toying with, forces that were not just abstract concepts in ancient texts, but real, with tangible, often devastating consequences. Realizing the depth of his descent, Amir resolved to break free from the world of black magic. However, escaping the web he had woven around himself was not easy. He found that the forces he had called upon were not so willing to release their grip. He experienced a series of misfortunes. His wealth began to dwindle, his health deteriorated, and he felt a constant, oppressive presence around him. In his search for a way out, Amir turned to various spiritual leaders and practitioners. He sought the help of imams, learned scholars of Islamic mysticism, and even visited Christian monasteries seeking counsel. Each step on this journey of redemption brought its own challenges, as Amir grappled with feelings of guilt, despair, and a deep sense of spiritual emptiness. A significant turning point in Amir's journey out of the darkness came through his rediscovery of faith. In his desperation, he found solace in the spiritual teachings of his youth, teachings he had once pushed aside in his quest for power. He began to embrace prayer and meditation, seeking forgiveness and guidance. This period was marked by intense personal reflection and a reevaluation of his values and priorities. Amir's repentance was not a quick process. It involved a complete overhaul of his lifestyle, a distancing from the practices and symbols of black magic, and a renewed commitment to living a life guided by moral and ethical principles. As Amir slowly broke free from the influence of black magic, he focused on rebuilding his life and making amends. This involved not just personal changes but also efforts to rectify the wrongs he had done. He reached out to those he had harmed, offering apologies and reparations. He also became involved in community work, using his resources and time to help others, as a way of seeking redemption for his past actions. A reflection on the journey. As we come to the close of our journey through these extraordinary stories, it's important to take a moment to reflect on what we've heard. Today, we delved into the lives of individuals who have encountered the enigmatic world of black magic, each story a tapestry of struggle, discovery, and transformation. From Maria's confrontation with the unseen forces in Romania and Alex's exploration of his family's legacy in New Orleans, to Neha's reconciliation with her ancestral past in India, Eduardo's role as a healer in the Amazon, and finally, Amir's descent into and recovery from the dark arts in Egypt. Each narrative has offered us a unique window into the complex interplay between the mystical and the mundane. These stories are not just about black magic, they're about the human spirit's capacity to face the unknown, to challenge our beliefs, and to emerge transformed. They remind us that the world is far more mysterious and intricate than we often acknowledge, and that sometimes the answers we seek lie in the spaces between what we can see and what we can't. As we part ways, I invite you to ponder the lessons these stories impart. They speak of caution against the allure of unchecked power, the importance of understanding our cultural heritage,